Beautiful sunrises, chirping birds, angry smallies. That can only mean one thing. Dave's back at Beauchene Wilderness Lodge to take on some pre-spawn bass.
If I had, oh my goodness, look what it's done. It has defecated my hand. I mean, it smells horrible.
In a land like no other. On a lake like you've never seen. Well, maybe you've seen lakes like this. But there is an angler so great, he once set the hook so hard he turned a smallmouth into a largemouth. He can unscramble an egg. He made his first cast at the age of 3 and it landed yesterday. We join him to chronicle one day on one lake. This is Facts of Fishing, the show. Here we go. Welcome to Facts of Fishing, the show. Brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Abu Garcia for life. Yamaha, conquer water. Live Target, lifelike lures. Action car and truck accessories, the right customer experience. Berkeley, catch more fish. And Phoenix Bass Boats, experience the Phoenix difference.
Little dude. Look at that little punk. Oh. Yes, it's true. They start off their day just like you do. They're no different. As you can, whoa. Well hydrated. Clearly. Let you go and finish your morning business. Easy, dude. Easy. Dude smoked that little jerk shad. Look at that dude there. No.
This segment is brought to you by Abu Garcia for life.
chunk. There he is. Good one too. Come here, dude. I'm back there to land him. Whoa! Mouthful of hooks. That dude just whacked with that little crankbait. Go. You know, pre-spawn bass can be super finicky, and today basically what we're doing is just cycling through a bunch of different baits, figuring out what they want. I mean, they're not quite up on beds, they're kind of just scanning that shoreline. It's one of those weeks, you know, you come to a lake and it can be incredibly tough just because those fish aren't locked into a pattern. They're all kind of just in betweenville. Little dude. Ikey. Get out of here, bully. Beat me up. Better one. Come here. Look at that dude right there. Gorfed. That little jerk shad, but how we're fishing it is totally different, and it's one of the coolest, easiest ways to fish this bait, and it's pretty much stereotypically designed for pre-spawn. It allows you to cover water and stay in contact with the bottom. And I think we figured out something, but don't much. Little guy. I tried to make your release fancy and nice. Sometimes they just want to be nasty. There we go. Oh, gone side of the boat. But that's all right. That's the whole deal with, you know, fishing pre-spawn. You gotta figure out, you know, a couple weeks from now when these fish are locked on beds, everybody in the world will know how to catch them. But when they're kind of pre-spawn like this and they're spread out, you gotta figure out what it's gonna take to trigger them. That's why one of the biggest mistakes you can make in fishing is, you know, you're all excited, you wanna go fishing, so you tie on your baits the night before in the garage. Unless you're tying on just a bunch of different baits, don't ever go to a lake with a preconceived notion. Always figure out the fish. And today we figured out what they want.
The rods in today's episode were threaded using the RTD rod threading device.
one. Acrobatics. Not a big one, but man, once you figure out what you need to throw at them, that is the whole riddle. Every single lake, no matter where you go, is figuring out what bait and what approach you want to take. Once you figure out the right one, I mean, you can keep messing around with baits all day long, catch one here, one there, but never ever rest until you figure out the right technique. Because you can spend an hour of trial and error, 2 hours, 3 hours. But once you figure it out, it pays off in a hurry. Oh, good one. Size of this dude right here. Come here. A pre-spawn muncher. And that little jerk shad on a lead head, just fishing it totally different. I mean, you can fish it. I caught a bunch of fish just fishing it, you know, weightless and popping it along. But really, you know, throwing it on a head like this, it just gives it a total different look. And as you can see, it gives it a total different reaction. Gone. The way I'm fishing this little jerk shad and these conditions are really a prime example of why you want to mess with baits. I mean, if you just Texas rig it like most people do with that style of bait, you fish it weightless, there's no way you're going to have the feel to fish it, you know, in wind like this. I mean, this wind is blasting across, you know, this island. And remember, when you look at an island, it's not just that little small space. That continues out. So this is a big area getting blasted, and I'm fan casting this area. But because I've got that, you know, that head on there, that lead head, and I'm fishing it the way I am, it allows me to have contact with the bottom. I mean, if I was throwing a weightless bait, it would just drift around and you would have fish grab it, but chances are half of them you wouldn't feel. Fish. Oh, little dude, and look at this. I mean, if that doesn't prove one thing, that little sucker right there, in all this wind blasting around, and that, you know, just makes my point. Get on out of here. Just makes my point. If I had, oh my goodness, look what it's done. It has defecated my hand. I mean, and for a little fish, really, it smells horrible. But what I was saying is I had contact so I could feel that bait, and I caught that fish, and there's part of me that wishes I didn't. And this bait, just like any bait you fish, really, you gotta never get stuck thinking one thing. You know, there's one way to fish it. Sometimes I'm popping it, just hopping along, and other times, you know, you'll see me twitch it, you know, similar to how you would fish it if you had a Texas rigged. And if you just as simple as change your retrieve and just pop, start popping it through there, you'll catch a few different fish that they're not all in the same mood at the same time.
This week's episode was filmed at Beauchene Wilderness Lodge. To book your trip, visit beauchene.com. This segment is brought to you by Hook Performance Fishing.
Oh, big one. Look at the size of this freak. Man, that is a good one. Whoa, 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 whoa. You know, that's why it's so important to use a very limber rod. I mean, even though I'm throwing a bait like this, I mean, it's kind of, you know, you want to use a stiffer rod thinking you're throwing a jig, but you got to remember, you know, sometimes they just kind of load up on that bait. There's got to be some give. That is the coolest thing about the sport of fishing, figuring out what they want to munch. And, you know, just because they're eating this today doesn't mean this is what they're going to be eating tomorrow. But I love that part about it. That's why you never get bored when you fish for a living. I mean, you're always trying to figure out what's going on. I always use the analogy, it's like golf, except the hole keeps moving and you're blindfolded because you can't see the hole. Chill out, chill out. Wow. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they finesse fish these dudes. Sometimes you just gotta manhandle them. Just goes to show you how quick you can turn around a day. I mean, we're having a pretty decent day. But unless you're getting crazy action like this, you should always continue to search. Oh, majestic. Oh, good God. See, that's the other reason that go big. Sometimes just go big. I mean, if I was out here with like 6.2 pound test, there's no way I could drag timber back to the boat. Oh, there he is, big one. Oh man, that is insane. Wow. Oh, there's a fish coming over the tree. Oh, he's in the tree. Oh, he's off. That's okay. Another reason why you want big gear doing this. I mean, you can, you know, do it with a spinning rod and lighter line, but I just like the power to be able to move a fish because you never know what they're going to be living in. Over the tree. Over the tree. Come up here. It's all about where you're fishing. I mean, some people will watch a show like this and be like, dude is fishing with braided line and a bait caster for smallmouth. It's not about the size of the fish. It's about where you gotta get the fish out of. Size of that dude right there. I mean, you're gonna catch some small ones, but you're gonna go through a ton of fish. It's just, really think of lures like tools. Really, I mean, what's the most effective tool to do the job? And it may not be totally changing the tool. It may be just how you rig the tool.
Dave fished for 8 hours, made 311 casts, and caught 22 fish. That's it for the score. Now, time for the facts. The bass slaying bait of the day was a Berkeley Power Bait Max Scent Flat-Nosed Jerk Shad. Rigged on a Trocard TKSH 516B Scorpion Shaky Head jig, with a 7-foot medium heavy action Abu Garcia Veritas casting rod, paired with an Abu Garcia Revo Premier Bait casting reel, spooled up with 15-pound test Berkeley X5 braided line with a fluorocarbon leader. Dave also used an Abu Garcia Fantasista Premier spinning rod with an Abu Garcia Revo MGX spinning reel, spooled up with 6-pound Berkeley Trilene braided line. And that's the facts.